Governor John Kasich, first of all, how you feeling? I didn't want to get too close to you.
I'm doing great.
You're a little radioactive.
Hey, I'm not radioactive.
You're
doing great.
You're doing okay?
Bill, we got more stuff done in the last 90 days than any governor's probably done in the last 9 years. I mean, we have to save this state. I have to tell you, I was in New York here a couple of weeks ago meeting with the rating agencies, Moody's, S&P, and Fitch. And you know what? We just got our information from Moody's. They said, they're going to hold us at a negative watch, but they're optimistic. But from the standpoint, the great signs are we're eliminating the structural deficit. They have given us a positive about giving local governments the ability to control their costs. But what they're worried about is that the reforms we have in the budget being taken out, and they're worried about the underlying economy in this state. We must get Ohio moving again, and that's exactly what we're doing. So in 90 days, what do we do? Among other things, we moved the Department of Development. We're moving it out of the government into a private operation so we can move at the speed of the market rather than the speed of the statute, where you can't move very fast as a statute. We just announced we saved a bunch of jobs up in Canton with Diebold, over 2,000 jobs. They're going to invest $105 million into their world headquarters. If we had lost Diebold after we lost NCR, it'd be blow a hole in the state. They're going to stay there. It's a terrific deal for Ohio. We saved American Greetings up in Cleveland. We got the Avengers movie going to Cleveland. We saved Bob Evans in the state of Ohio. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Can I give you an example of what's happening in the real world?
Yeah.
I spoke to some people on the casino thing today.
Yep.
If somebody would show up to you in your office today and say, hey, John, may I call you John?
You can, as long as I can call you Mr. Cunningham.
Thank you. John, I want to bring to Ohio about 8,000 jobs, and I'm going to invest about $2 billion, and I want no state money. You would roll out the welcome mat and say, Mr. Casino Operator, please come. Well, I talked to some of the indirect representatives of these operators, and they're very concerned.
What's an indirect representative? What does that mean, Cunningham?
An indirect representative.
You mean you were talking to a lobbyist?
An indirect representative.
Oh, okay.
Deal with the issue.
Bill, look. I mean, they paid $200 million for $1.2 billion assets, and the taxpayers of this state got a raw deal. Now, I've hired some gambling experts, some gaming experts, because nobody in the government of the state understands anything. Wait a minute. Let me finish, okay?
I agree with you.
So what am I doing? People want me to do racetracks, VLTs, Indian game, all this stuff. You know what? We slapped together the last thing, and it didn't work out very well. So I'm not going to do it this time. I'm going to make sure the taxpayers are represented. We've just announced today we've hired 2 firms to advise us. And we're going to ask the casino operators to do a little bit more to help the state.
But you said you're not going to go back to the ballot, which would be a blunder. Therefore, when you ask, you almost sound like a Democrat, saying we're going to ask high-income people to pay more money.
Whoa. Bill, look, these guys are making an enormous sum of money, and they can be part of our Ohio family.
Why, what if they say, Governor, we don't want to participate?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I've got a lot of decisions I have to make that affect them. Look, the last time you will have leverage with these folks is now. Now, look, I'm not against these people. I want them to open their casinos. But, when they run around saying they can't get financing, I mean, they could self-finance. These people have gobs of money. And what I'm saying is, look, you cut a better deal than you should have. The voters approved it. They didn't understand it all in terms of what the details of this constitutional amendment are. And I'm just going to give them an opportunity to help us a little bit more.
Because they're worried about time.
Oh, soon.
Months?
No, it's not going to be that long,
I talked to politicians, and, we passed it. Hamilton County, we passed it. Without Southwest Ohio, it didn't happen.
Bill, would you like to have a little bit money out of them to help the state, or are you against it?
I'm in favor of getting $200 million and 33% of the revenue.
Right, so you're against anything else they might be able to do to help us in a difficult time? Huh? There's one guy I know.
A deal's a deal. We made the deal.
Well, you know what? I'm not violating the deal. I'm just going to ask them, you know what? How do they want to be treated on their cat tax? They want to be taxed up front or on net? What do they want, gross or net? Okay?
These are net. They want net.
Okay, well, maybe, but that's not in the Constitution.
Well, the point
the point of it is, let us take our time. We have a difficult economic situation right now. And let's just slow down and get this done right. Bill, I'm not out to do them in. I'm going to ask them for some more help. And guess what? Then I have to decide a bunch of other things, like whether we're going to do VLTs. I've hired experts, Bill, because I'm not going to make a decision like they have in the past where they didn't know what they were doing. So if they can step up and help us, it'll help our schools, it'll help our communities, it'll help the state. That's all we're going to have a
The
conversation
mayor
with.
tells me, the county commissioners tell me, we've had a year and a half of waiting. We passed this darn
Bill,
thing
I've been in office for 90 days.
This should have been done last year under Strickland.
But it wasn't.
It wasn't.
So I'm now going to get it done the right.
You're delaying
Bill,
jobs.
let me tell you. First of all,
you're the guy delaying it
first
right
of
now.
all, no, you know what? I don't buy it.
You are.
No, I don't buy it. No, I think they're playing a game, and they're trying to rush me into decisions that benefit them. Look, Bill, you trying to tell me they can't get financing? You gotta be kidding
Yeah, they
me.
can. But
yeah, of course
they
can.
don't want to order the steel until they know what the building looks like.
Bill, I've made it clear to all of them.
How about this deal?
Wait a minute. I've made it clear to all of them that we are going to treat them fairly. And look, there's a lot of decisions that get to be made. There's a lot of things they want, okay? If they want a bunch of things that the government's going to give them, then they ought to be participating as a full partner in this.
Can we
I hired – hold on. I got two people in here, two firms, who have great expertise, and they're just going to say – and we're going to get moving on it. We will. You know why we couldn't move any faster? Because doing RFPs and hiring independent people takes time in Ohio. You know why? Because we move at the speed of the statute. That's why I want Jobs Ohio, so that it is a not-for-profit organization. And look, our track record in 90 days is pretty darn good when it comes to retaining companies in this state. Most of them were walking out of here. We have lost more jobs in the last 10 years than every state in America except for California and Michigan. And we are now beginning to head in the right direction. Now, let me tell you, my trip to New York with Moody's, you want Moody's to give us a lousy credit rating?
No,
do you know what that means to this state? So just stay cool, Bill.
Can I ask
Willie,
you this question?
Stay cool.
Can I ask you this? It's April 15th, April 14th.
Yeah.
It's been a year and a half. We got the darn thing passed. The people of this community passed it. Nobody else did. We got steel companies. We got labor unions. Got the NAACP. We got Claremont County. I had the commissioners on. You cut them 25 to 50% of their contribution from state to local governments. They're anticipating the gambling revenue is going to make up the difference.
Bill, you know what? I thought you were a conservative.
I am a conservative.
No, you're not.
Governor.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
You are a wolf in sheep. No, you're not. And, you know, I can prove it to you. Because now you're saying that I ought to continue to support revenue sharing. Even the federal government got rid of revenue sharing. I'm going to call your buddy Hannity and tell him you've gone left on him.
I have not.
You have gone
Don't
left
say
on
that
him.
to me.
Hey, first of all, let's talk about the local governments, okay?
They're angry about that.
Angry about losing.
Yeah,
because
Republicans.
You know what, Bill? Look, here's the bottom line. If this state does not eliminate its structural imbalance, keeps taxing and spending, we're going down, my friend. How did we keep these companies here? We offer them incentives. You know what that means? It means we lower their costs. Now, what I'd rather do is, instead of picking one-offs here and helping this company and that company, I'd like to lower the cost for everybody in this state. Look, Cincinnati has lost 50% of its population in the last 60 years. You see what happened in the last 10 years? Since you've been on the radio, population in Cincinnati has dropped by 10% in the last 10 years. You're the problem, Cunningham.
No, I sent them to Butler County and Claremont County. Can you give me a date, a rough date?
No, I'm not giving you any date. We're going to move very quick. Bill,
but you understand
Bill, let me just tell you.
You see the headlines here in the Enquirer about Kasich.
Hey, just hold on a second, Bill. Look, it'd be great if we can reach an overall agreement so the state is going to be able to move forward. And, you know, I've been in office for 90 days. We don't even have funding for the Casino Commission. I was left with nothing on the shelves. So look, I understand that they want to get rolling. Okay, I understand that.
Jobs.
And they can start putting steel up anytime they want to. You know what they want to do? They don't want to do any more for the state right now. And then they want these other things.
Well, do you blame them?
Slow down.
If you were the casino operator and you got a deal,
Bill,
what would you do?
I'm the governor of Ohio, and I have to represent the people of this state. I don't know who you're supporting. The gambling interests?
I support jobs. And I talk to labor union leaders who are ready to go to work.
Bill, you know what? If we can get a good improvement here, we'll have more jobs. Frankly, we'll have more jobs. And that's what this is all about. This is about slowing down and doing it right, so the state doesn't have to keep struggling along at the bottom. We want to lift the state. We want to get the state in a position where companies say, I want to stay, I want to expand, and other companies are going to come in here. That's exactly, and you know what? You know what Moody says? This is a good plan for Ohio.
Building Trades Council is going nuts. The city of Cincinnati is going nuts.
Okay, I've explained to you. We will get this done. It's not going to be months, by the way. It won't be months, okay?
I had a question from the Tea Party to you about the estate tax. Senate's passed it. House passed it. Will you sign the estate tax ban?
Well, if it comes to me, I favor that. What I'm trying to do here is, look, we have lowered the income tax. Who would have thought that I would have an $8 billion, it's the largest deficit in the history of the state. Who would have thought that we would eliminate the structural deficit and preserve a tax cut that we got in January? So everything has its time. I don't know if the House and the Senate is going to send that to me, but I've always been against the estate tax. We need lower taxes, more common sense, a privatized development department. We need to match the curriculum with our colleges, universities, and technical schools to the 66,000 jobs that are unfilled in Ohio right now. We've got to boost our education. We've got to do all these things, and you know what? We're off to a pretty good start.
90 days. Now, 75-year judges. I have a good friend who's 70 years old, and it's, the House passed it yesterday. Do you support the idea of judges being allowed to serve till they're 75 years old?
Well, I don't know anything about it, but I'm not in favor of punishing people because of age.
Because right now the limit
Bill, I look at you. You're an old man, but you function fairly well, you know?
I can beat your ass on the golf course any day of the week.
We'll see about that. But here's the thing. I'm not a believer that because somebody gets older, they ought to be out. So I don't know what this legislation is. We'll look at it. But I've always felt that when people get older, first of all, they're smarter, they're wiser, and they tend to be more mentoring. And that's what I hope I will become as I get older, to help somebody else to be successful.
I want to help you be a better governor. I want to help you along that path.
Okay. I'm sure you do.
Senate Bill 5 was a little bit controversial.
Yeah.
I spent 7 years as an attorney for the OCSEA. My wife, Penny, an appellate judge now, was the president of OCSEA and the state treasurer of OCSEA. In my viewpoint, and in my humble viewpoint, the blunder you made was not in sitting down with the labor unions and listening to what they had to say.
I know what they're saying.
I know, but you got to listen to them.
I did, Bill, but you have to read the bill.
I have not read the 500-page bill.
Well, let me just tell you
Bill
this.
Seitz has read it.
Let me tell you this. First of all, there are no federal workers who have the right to collectively bargain at all. In our state, we have given workers, all government workers, an opportunity to negotiate for their wages and an opportunity to negotiate on working conditions. What we've taken away is their ability to negotiate on a pension, which, by the way, most Ohioans don't have. And we've given the managers, the city council, the school boards, the ability to control the health care. The average city worker in Ohio is paying 9% of their health care. The average private sector worker who pays the taxes to support the city worker is paying 23%, Bill. Let me give you a couple other statistics. I was over at a daycare center in Dayton the other day. I said, what do these workers get paid? $9 an hour. How's their pension? Well, they don't have any pension. They don't have a pension? No, they don't. How's the health care? You got to be kidding me. I said, do you know that you are supporting some people who are paying almost nothing for their pension and nothing for their health care? You talk about an attack on the middle class, the working folks. The lady working at the pizza shop, the lady working over here in Dillard's, these people, they don't have pensions. They don't have good health care. So what we're trying to do is not take this away from anybody, but to balance it out so that the government worker is in a closer position to where the private worker is. That's fair for Ohio.
What do you say to the school teacher? I talked to school board presidents and members, Madeira, which is close by, a guy named Kramer, who's a superintendent, high achieving, and he's very concerned about how much are they going to get from the state, which is our tax dollars going to Columbus. Yeah. How much are we going to get back?
Okay, let's talk about that. First of all, we try to give that superintendent the tools he needs to be able to manage his costs. You know, there's this thing called binding arbitration. Did you know about this?
I know. I don't like binding arbitration.
Wait a minute, Bill. You must like it.
I don't like it.
Well,
you know what I do like? I like the presiding judge in the court of common pleas determining between the two.
You know what?
I don't like imposing it.
You know what, Bill? Imposing it on who? It's the city council, the elected city council, the elected mayor, and the school board. What are you talking about?
Well,
the bottom line is, wait a minute, Bill. They will decide. Look, if they want to give more wages, they can do that. But, you know, some of our pension systems are in trouble in this state. Our schools are in trouble. So what are we trying to do? We're saying to the schools, first of all, share services with other school districts, share services with other local governments so you can buy together, you can share employees, you can do lots of things. And then I'll give you the tools to control the cost of running your school. You know what's happened in many urban areas? As enrollments declined, the amount of staff has gone up.
Cincinnati, that's
okay.
happened.
Now let's talk about your guy. There is no school district in the state of Ohio who will, when you take into account federal, state, and local dollars, would lose more than 7.9%. You know what most of them are losing? 4 or 5. No, Bill, we have an $8 billion structural deficit. We can't raise taxes. We'll drive more companies out of here. So we've given them the tools, and we're saying to them, in this next year, it's pretty tough. Some of these districts are going to be in a position of where they're going to break even.
Right.
And so that's pretty fair. Now, let me tell you what else we want to do. We want to say over time that we want to pay teachers a lot more money based on performance, Bill, based on performance. We want to develop the criteria based on some testing and based on peer review, principal review, and parental review. We want all government workers to be paid on the basis of performance. Now, that may be a radical idea with a former conservative, but I think it makes sense. That's the way we do things in the private sector. Your good friend
and fellow Republican Bill Seitz said, if the Reds and the Pirates play tomorrow night and the umpires don't show up, the Reds shouldn't take the 23rd, 24th, and 25th player in their roster and make them the umpires. The umpire cannot be the guy part of the management team.
Bill, you know, I don't even know what that is. I don't even understand what that means. But let me explain this to you. When we elect a school board, when we select a superintendent, when we elect a mayor, there's some things they ought to decide on behalf of taxpayers. Now, it is not unreasonable to say, and I've supported it, I put it in the bill, that they should be able to collectively bargain on wages and they should be able to collectively bargain on working conditions. But, Bill, do you know today how many people have a guaranteed benefit package?
Doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen. Okay, they have it. Okay? How many people are not getting decent health care? Their health care costs are going up, and they don't. Bill, there are places in government now where there are actually government workers who pay nothing for their or either nothing or very little for their pension and their health care being picked up by the lady working over there at Dillard's. Now, she doesn't know that, Bill. And when you say we're turning it over to elected people, you want to turn it over to a judge? A judge.
Because the management team that makes the offer should not be the team to decide what it is.
Bill, we're talking about people who get elected by taxpayers to run a community, and you don't want them to decide this?
I want an independent judge.
Okay,
Bill,
well, fine.
I think Bill Seitz, that's your fellow Republican, is Bill Seitz.
Okay, well, you know what?
He's the guy that's
If that's your only problem with this, fine. We can disagree on that point. But I think that I've heard that you've said that this is an attack on working people. No, we want working people who are out there with no pension, limited health care, to be represented now in this state and to balance out with the pressure they're under, including the 9+% of Ohioans who don't even have a job, and asking people who are government workers to pay a little bit more for their pension and pay a little bit more for their health care. You explain to me what's wrong with that, Mr. Cunningham.
I'll give you my view. If you would have sat down with the unions, you would have gotten 50, 60, 70% of this, and I fear as a taxpayer, this thing's going to go down in November, and you're going to get nothing.
Okay, Bill, then you ought to be telling them not to have it go down. And let me tell you this. You see, you wanted to know whether John Kasich was going to come in here and change the culture of this state. I was in Washington and was the lead architect of the last balanced budget we had. You know what we didn't get done? We didn't change the culture. Negotiating, you know, when you take the pensions and the health care off the table and let them be able to negotiate on wages, you now have stabilized the situation. The bond houses in New York are praising this. They say this allows local governments to control their costs before they go under. Okay, Bill, come on, it's basic economics. And again, there were some people didn't want any collective bargaining for wages. And I said, no way, we're putting that in there. That's not reasonable.
Originally, there was no collective bargaining.
I said it's not acceptable.
I like collective bargaining. I like talking. I like sitting down with people.
I do too. But you know what? If you're going to negotiate, Bill, when you negotiate your contract at WLW and you negotiate your contract with a TV where you're going to be a big TV star, there are certain things you don't negotiate, okay? And there's certain things you do. So all we've done is limited the scope of negotiating, and who's going to decide the rest of it? The people we elect.
Do you have any
Next question, Cunningham.
Do you have any questions for me? Why don't you ask me a question?
I want to tell you. Wait a minute. What's happened to you?
Wait, nothing's happened to me. I say,
Cunningham,
I love collective bargaining. That's what I say.
And that's fine.
I want to make you do a better job. I'm trying to make you better.
Bill, let me tell you one other thing. We come in with an $8 billion deficit, and you haven't heard much pushback. We're reforming Medicaid. You know what we're doing? We're saying if mom and dad qualify for a nursing home, they can stay in their own home. That's the first time, and we put a lot of money to let that happen. We got rid of the politics, okay? We said we're not going to cave into one special interest. We've said that if you have mental illness, we're going to help you be coordinated with your physical problems so we save money. We're saying we're going to coordinate people's care and create a medical home. We're saying we're going to solve the problem of violence in our prisons by combining a public and a private system and by reducing the sentencing so we're not locking a guy up who's in prison for 6 months next to a guy who's in there for 30 years. It'll save us money. Public will be safe. It'll be good. We're saying we're going to take a dilapidated liquor department and move it into Jobs Ohio so we actually have the power to be able to go out and create jobs, because the liquor profit should be used to attract jobs, not to expand government. We've reduced the GRF by 2/3. You know, the 2/3 of it has lower spending. Why? Because the state has been mangled and mismanaged for so long. Bill, we've eliminated a structural deficit, preserved the tax cut, preserved the help for the disabled, the mentally ill, the people most vulnerable, given tools to local communities to deal with this, saved a bunch of companies that wanted to leave Ohio, got ourselves in a position where we're providing a privatized development operation so we can move at the speed of the market, not the speed of the statute, and we're beginning to align the curriculum in technical schools, community colleges, and universities to the 66,000 jobs that are needed out there.
Give me
90 days.
Governor, I want you to grow. I want you to be better. You got great potential. But
you do too.
I would say this: jobs, jobs, and
That's
jobs. Right. And those jobs are waiting to be built at Broadway Commons. And don't stand in the way of those people that want to give us those jobs.
No, I'm not going to do that. And I'm also going to, at the same time, not do that. I'm going to stand up for the taxpayers of this state.
Do you have any questions?
So your superintendent down here might get a few more
Kramer,
bucks.
he
He may get a few more bucks. Maybe the gaming people ought to give him a few more bucks, huh?
Governor, thank you
All
for
right,
coming.
do I have any questions for you, Cunningham?
Give me some questions. Give me something tough, because I've thrown you some softballs here.
You know what? It's always fun to be with you, Bill. And how's the ratings? You're not judged on the basis of performance in this job,
yes,
are you?
I get bonuses, and we have a 13 share.
You get a bonus for doing a good job.
And I had 4 times the listeners of Rush Limbaugh. 4 times.
I'm calling Rush and telling him.
Tell him. 4 times.
Is that right?
That's true.
Good.
True.
What's your secret?
Talking to average working people, the common schleps, and making sure they have a job and a way out of the hole. When I talk to Building Trades Council and they want to get to work, they perceive that you're stopping them from working.
Okay.
That's what they perceive.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's real.
Yeah.
I'm saying
you heard what I said.
I know. And 8 months ago, we were ready to go and get this thing built, and Strickland didn't do it.
You know, the last guy put VLTs in the budget and counted it, and it drove us way in the hole, and they didn't know what they were doing. And then we get this gaming thing, and the state gets a measly amount of money. I mean, do you see how you can't, Bill, there's an old saying, you may have heard this, haste makes waste. And so we're going to move expeditiously.
Haste. Because we got to get going.
Bill, we are getting going, and we have a lot of good things happening, and we'll get this all resolved. And you know what? The quicker they can come and tell me how they want to help be part of our Ohio family, quicker we can get this done. Thank you, Mr. Willie. See ya.
Governor, thank you. 700 WLW.
JosephAuto.com.
An important message from the lawn desk. The weeds we call dandelions are here, and they are anything but dandy. These twisted, greedy lawn destroyers steal nutrients and suck away precious water. To add insult to injury, they turn into puffballs, spreading thousands of seeds across your lawn, coming back worse than before. We don't call that dandy. We call that insanity. That must end, and end it will with Scott's Turf Builder Plus 2 with weed control. It kills dandelions and other major lawn weeds, but it doesn't stop there. Turf Builder Plus 2 does 2 jobs at the same time, feeding your lawn with the good nutrition it needs to fill in where dandelions were. Now is the time to use Scott's Turf Builder Plus 2. It's guaranteed to knock out dandelions and other tough weeds, or your money back. And that, fellow homeowners, is dandy. That concludes this Lawn Desk Alert. Scott's, official lawn care company of the Cincinnati Reds. Cool.
All right, now, Billy Cunningham, the great American for Joseph Buick GMC on Colerain Avenue. I ran into the king himself, Richard Joseph, and he alerted me once again that they're moving in approximately 30 days. And why are they doing that at Joseph Buick? Because of one reason. Too many sales are taking place. They need more room. And they do not want to move 500 cars down the street. So now's your chance, with a ginormous moving sale underway, to see my friends Bittner, Palmieri, and Richard Joseph. Nobody, but nobody, is going to sell you a brand new Buick or GMC for less money than Joseph Buick GMC on Coleraine.
700 WLW. CarX brakes are on sale from $89.99 installed and with a lifetime guarantee. Call your CarX man. That's CarX.
On the hour at 30 past, and when news breaks, 700 WLW.